put a shield around them. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cora Jane. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And I did have requests from two council members that wanted to have some further discussion in a future work session on ordinance 09-2023. So I would ask if there's someone who would like to make a motion to postpone, to remove number 8 and postpone the second reading until the next council meeting. By David Rowlett. Is there a second? By Teresa Centers. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend the agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to amend, which would be to remove number 8 until the next meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries. At this point, I do need a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor.
Startsman? Yes.
May I make a motion to add an item,
You may.
discussion item?
You may. Go right
In
ahead.
place
Steve.
of number 8?
Sure.
Could we do, it was brought up, the lighting for the bypass, the lighting plan and the discussion on that. Could we do that on number 8 to replace that?
I will accept that motion. And is there a second? Second. By Cora Jane Wilson. Any discussion on the motion to amend the agenda? Seeing none, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. All right, and we'll insert that as number 8. At this point, I will request a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve as amended? Cora Jane, second by David Rowlett. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a voice vote on approving the agenda as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries and the agenda is approved as amended. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from October 3rd, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Steve Cottle. Is there a second? By Katie Startsman. Any discussion on approval of the minutes from October 3rd? Seeing none, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. The motion carries and the minutes from October 3rd are approved. The next item on the agenda is Kentucky League of Cities Training Certification Presentation. And I'm very happy to welcome back our neighbor, Terry Johnson from Kentucky League of Cities, who I've had the pleasure to work with for about 7 or 8 years now, and for who I knew in college even, way back when. So, so Terry, you have the floor. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
How's that? Thank you. I probably don't need this anyway. I feel like I'm home. I guess we've been doing this about 3 years now, so this is really a wonderful opportunity to recognize people who, and I like to say this for the record and the cameras, so that the public knows that your city officials and your employees take training very seriously and are very well trained. You have a very well managed city, so we certainly appreciate that, particularly since you have our insurance, and so we are always happy to recognize people who complete training. We have 3 levels of training, actually 4 now. But for several years we've had 3 levels of training, and it takes a while to get to the first level, a little bit longer to get to the second level, and a little bit longer to get to the third level. So at our conference last month, we recognized your Mayor Bruce Fraley, was recognized for having completed over 110 hours of municipal training. And just so you know what this is, it's legal, it's planning and zoning, it's, HR kinds of stuff, and it's a little of everything else in between. So it's a very well-rounded achievement. So Mayor Fraley, congratulations. He received his award at the conference. And tonight I'm here to recognize Councilmember David Rowlett, who has completed 55 hours of training, as well as Rose Beverly, who has completed almost 42 hours of training. So I want to give them a hand. A little bit about our training program. If you look at our website, klc.org, there really is something for everyone. There's something every week. There are in-person events. There are virtual events. I was mentioning to a couple of folks that probably our next big event is our virtual housing summit, which will be November 15th, which will be a day-long interactive discussion about housing, as well as a panel about the unhoused, but primarily about housing, because that's such an issue for cities all across the nation, and certainly our cities in Kentucky. So that's coming up. We have lots of safety things coming up. So we're glad that you take advantage of our training, and we will hope that you will continue to do so. So just read your emails and go to klc.org. And at this point, I'd like to make the presentation to Councilmember Rowlett and to Rose.
All right.
Would you like?
And
I'm happy to come up there, or whatever you'd like to do.
Is that how you want it? How do you want it?
Kind of come right up here next.
Yeah,
to
I'll be.
If you don't care.
Happy to.
That way, David, you can get right in there with them. That's all right.
Thank you. Maybe horizontal, you think?
One, two, three. One, two, three. All right.
Thank you for letting me. Well, congratulations to both of you. Thank you.
Terry, thank you again for coming, and Rose and I think we're going to be at the housing conference, and that is open to all the council members and any city staff that might be interested in attending as well. It's an important topic, but thank you again, and David and Rose, congratulations. I know we've had several other certifications, and I think the person in the room with the most training is our city clerk, Robin Adams. I think she's even over the masters or getting close to it. So we do appreciate the training that's offered to us to help us do a better job serving the citizens. So thank you again. All right. Next item on the agenda is the audit report, and we have the team from Baldwin CPA LLC who's going to present the audit to us tonight. Myron Fisher. Myron, welcome. We also have Ryan Adams I'll acknowledge that he's in the crowd, so I'm sure we'll hear from you in a minute.
Yeah,
You have the floor, sir. Go right ahead.
thank
Welcome.
you, Mayor. Good evening, Myron Fisher with Baldwin, and I'm just going to be here for a little bit, and then I'll turn it over to Ryan Adams. Just wanted to say thank you all. We appreciate the opportunity to provide this service to you as council and governance from the city's perspective, and also from all the taxpayers and so forth that contribute as well. So we appreciate the opportunity to do that and the relationship that we've been able to maintain and have with you all, but then also with your management team. And I'm sure Ryan will acknowledge that as well. But thank you to Rose and then obviously Susan and her team. They do a great job. You guys are, we're here in October, and that's a testament to the fact that Susan has her team has stuff ready to go early on, because that's not always the case. Sometimes by choice, sometimes by not. So you all should be proud of that from that aspect, because you all are prepared for this early on. So that's a great testament to your team as well. As I mentioned, so I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Adams. If you want to come on up, Ryan. Ryan is a senior manager, different gentleman. Drew Ulmer has been here in the past. Mr. Terrell commented on the fact that we could maybe be related. So I said, well, it's got to be somebody that, has the same hairstyle as I do. Maybe that's the requirement of it. So, he served as senior manager, and I'm going to let him go over some highlights and details. And so I'm going to turn it over to him. Thank you all.
Thank you for the introduction, Myron. I appreciate that. And it has been an absolute pleasure working with Susan, Rose, and others within the city during the course of the audit. Getting through an audit is a big task, and so I especially thank you all for your hard work and attention to the audit. I would like to begin by discussing the auditor's report on page 1. You're welcome to turn to that. There are some changes to the auditor's report this year that I would like to call out. As noted in the second paragraph, we have expressed an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2023. And that's the opinion that you want, that's what you're looking for. And also a new paragraph was added to the auditor's report to emphasize a correction of an error in the prior year financial statements that were previously issued. The correction of an error is explained in note 19 to the financial statements, which is on page 57 if you're interested in turning there. The error deals with the ARPA grant. This error does not affect the ARPA grant itself, the amount of funds awarded to the city, or any compliance matters with the grant. The error only deals with when to record revenue in the city's financial statements. Revenue can only be recognized when all of the eligibility requirements have been met. One eligibility requirement deals with expenditure-driven grants, where revenue cannot be recognized until eligible expenditures have been both identified and incurred. In the prior fiscal year, the position taken was that the ARPA grant was not an expenditure-driven grant, and the eligibility requirements were therefore light. As a non-entitlement unit, or a city with a population with less than 50,000, the city did not have to prove revenue loss under the ARPA grant, thanks to the $10 million allowance, which greatly exceeded the amount of awarded funds to the city. This meant that the funds received could be spent under the revenue loss category for basically any government service, which is a broad category. Since the city of Berea is a non-entitlement unit and took the $10 million revenue loss election, it was believed in the prior year that there were no eligibility requirements other than revenue loss, and so the entire amount received in the prior year under the ARPA grant was recognized as revenue. Now, as you all may recall, there was a lot of confusion surrounding the ARPA grant, both from the perspective of how can we spend these funds and how do we properly account for them. This confusion has since been cleared up with a lot of guidance released after the prior year's financial statements had been issued. Now, looking back with greater clarity, we have learned that the eligibility requirements for ARPA was not just meeting the revenue loss requirement under the allowance, but also that the city had to incur and identify specific expenditures for government services to be eligible. So, funds received in advance before eligible expenditures were identified and incurred should be reported as an asset called restricted cash and a liability for unearned revenue. The error correction does just that by restating the net position and fund balance and reporting unspent ARPA funds as a liability in the financial statements. So if you look at the fund balance sheet and the statement of net position for the city, you'll see a new line added called grant advance, and that represents the unspent portion of the ARPA grant at year end. Moving on the second page to the auditor's report, we made a slight modification to the paragraph entitled Prior Year Comparative Information. This paragraph has been tweaked since the prior year totals have been restated to correct for this error. I would like to now move into some brief financial highlights, starting with the government-wide financial statements. There was an increase of $3.9 million under governmental activities, driven by ARPA grant spending, occupational licenses, and donated infrastructure, which are the main drivers for that increase under governmental activities. For business activities, there was an increase of $4.9 million in that position, driven also by other donated infrastructure, increased investment income from U.S. Treasuries, and a decrease in expenses driven mostly by a change in the proportionate share of the net pension liability for the utility fund. Also, it's noteworthy to mention that the city enrolled its police and fire positions under the hazardous plan under CERS in the fiscal year 2022 plan year. And the 2022 plan year is reported in your fiscal year 2023 financial statements. So the net pension liability, the OPEB liability are all reported as of June 30th, 2022 and your June 30th, 2023 financial statements. And that was the plan year in which the switch occurred for fire and police into the hazardous plan. So you'll notice that there are significant increases in those liabilities as a result. Also, there was a budget surplus of $2.5 million, which is due in large part to a conservative budget and greater than expected revenues from occupational licenses. This is for the general fund, I should mention. Next, I would like to direct your attention to a couple of new notes. Note 8 is new for this year. It's called Subscription-Based Information Technology Arrangements. And this is a new accounting standard that went into effect for this fiscal year. So these arrangements are contracts that convey control of the right to use another party's information technology software for a period of time in exchange for consideration. So it's an accounting standard very similar to what you implemented last year for leases, where you put a right of use asset and a lease liability on the balance sheet. Well, we're kind of doing the same thing for these software arrangements. So these generally include your cloud-based information systems, finance and HR software, virtual meeting platforms like Zoom, or all the types of software that fall into the standard. The adoption of the standard did not have a material impact when it was implemented on July 1st, 2022. However, there was a significant lease entered into during the current fiscal year, and it was recorded in accordance with the new standard, and it is disclosed in the notes, in Note 8. Another new note for the year is Note 16, or I should say the second paragraph to Note 16 is new, and it deals with the city on July 1st, 2022, began self-funding healthcare costs through a consortium. And so a related disclosure has been made to this note to show the changes in the related claims liability throughout the year. So those are the two new notes for the year. Everything else should look familiar, just with updated numbers for the most part. And next I would like to turn your attention to the Yellow Book Audit Report. That's going to be on page, I think I brought this up here, 72. Starts on page 72. I'll turn to it myself. Okay. And within this report, we talk about reporting internal controls over financial reporting and any compliance matters that have come to our attention during the audit. And in this report, we noted that there were no such items. Also during the year, we performed a single audit on your major programs, which was just one major program, which was the ARPA grant. So we performed a test of compliance on that major program, and that report begins just after this one on page 74. And in this report, we describe that we have audited the city's major federal program under a single audit for the year ended June 30th, 2023. And the major program was the ARPA grant. And in our opinion, the city complied with the compliance requirements that have a direct and material effect under this program. No material weaknesses over internal controls, over compliance were identified. And that is all I wanted to cover for the financial statements itself. I also gave each of you a letter. It's a stapled copy. I wanted to go over that with you really quickly. Okay, within this letter, mention is made about the adoption of the new accounting standard for subscription-based information technology arrangements. This is GASB 96 is the name of this accounting standard, so we made mention of that. That's new for the year. On page 2 of that letter, we noted certain material misstatements detected as a result of audit procedures were corrected by management. And one such material misstatement we had already discussed, which was the prior year restatement for the ARPA grant. The other correction relates to a receivable that was recorded in the Urban Wildlife Preservation Fund. As you know, real property was donated to the city, and along with it, $300,000 to maintain the property. However, the $300,000 was received just recently in fiscal year 2024. Since the amount became unconditional and irrevocable in fiscal year 2023, lost my place. That the city would receive those funds 100% with certainty. A receivable was recorded in that fund for this year. However, due to the unavailability of those funds, no revenue was recorded in the fund financial statements, but was instead presented as a deferred inflow of resources. Accordingly, this adjustment would have no impact on the fiscal year 2024 budget, since that revenue still hits fiscal year 2024. Just a receivable was recorded in fiscal year 2023. There were some waived adjustments that were not recorded in the city's financial statements because management concluded that their effects, both individually and in the aggregate, were immaterial to the financial statements as a whole. And they appear in the attachment on the last page. The first two entries relate to an immaterial subscription-based information technology arrangement lease that we decided that we weren't going to record so as to not have to restate some prior year numbers. And the second two entries relate to an understatement and the prior year compensated absences liabilities. Both of these waived adjustments were deemed immaterial. Also want to highlight that there were no disagreements with management, no consultations with other accountants, and I believe on the second to last page there's a paragraph called Other Audit Findings or Issues, and within the section we mentioned the emphasis of a matter paragraph in the auditor's report about the correction of an error that we talked about. And that last section just identifies the significant risks that we deemed relevant for the audit for fiscal year 2023 during our planning. And that's all I have prepared. I open it up to you all for any questions.
Good, thank you, Ryan. Questions for the audit team from Baldwin and Associates? Any
Yes.
questions, Katie?
Thank you for this. Can you restate what these to the utility fund and the government-wide governmental activities funds that were waived?
Are you referring to the compensated absences? I think you are.
I don't know what that means, basically.
Okay. We just detected a minor understatement in the prior year compensated absences liability, and it has something to do with that liability should also include like employer payroll taxes, amounts to the retirement system. So that was a new way of calculating it this year. So we had to go back and kind of look at last year and see what the effect would have been. And we determined that the effect was immaterial. So we weren't going to restate the prior year for an immaterial adjustment. Yep.
Other questions for Ryan? Steve?
I was actually going to ask Kate, do you know what compensated absences are? Was that the question?
No, I just didn't know I knew these were different from the subscription, but I didn't know I just wanted clarity on what they were for.
Okay.
Other questions or comments for Ryan? I know this brings to conclusion a lot of work. You guys spend a lot of time at
Yep.
City Hall, so got to see you several days. Other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. Myron, thank you for being here as well. It's always good to see you. I'll note that Myron serves on our airport board, so we get to work with Myron in more ways than one. So, proud to have both of you here. Thank you again for your work, and compliments again to Susan and department heads and the finance team.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
You can. We typically have. You don't have to, but we typically have.
Just as a matter of being consistent, I'd like to make a motion to accept the audit and at this time.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second? By Teresa Centers. Any discussion on the motion to accept the audit?
I'd just like to thank Baldwin CPAs for doing a fantastic job, and they've already stated it, but our finance team, at least I don't get to do the audit, but it appears that it makes it very simple. And so this is not simple. And the fact that we've never had anything but a clean opinion in the entire time that I've been on the council is something to really have a great deal of pride in.
Thank you, Steve. Good comments. Any additional comments on the motion to accept the audit? In that case, I'll request a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to accept the audit, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Gentlemen, thank you very much. You're always welcome in Berea, so stop by and see us. All right, moving forward, the new number 8 is a discussion of lighting for the Berea bypass. I'll recognize Steve.
So this was brought to my attention as an issue potentially for the Public Works or for the entire council, just with the lighting plan for the new bypass, the new section of the bypass. And I think management, Mayor Rose are aware of this, but as I walked up here, I thought it might make more sense to have an open discussion as a line item of the agenda versus trying to do something later on and comments or anything. But I think generally, tell me if I'm off here, Ronnie, there's concern about potentially lack of lighting in the Johnson Road area and that intersection, and then also in the Blue Lick Road section. So I guess a question that I had, because I haven't had conversations necessarily with anyone, is that do we have we seen like the lighting plan for the whole thing? Does the state have any intention of putting up street lights? I know that.
Steve,
Go ahead.
Steve,
Ronnie?
the state does have a lighting, but the only 2 lights they're gonna put up is on 25 and 1016, period. And the thing is, we need lights on Old 25, Johnson Road, Blue Lick, and actually out there on 21, because there are not many lights. There's one light out there, and it's over where the old road was. And we need to put lights up, and now's the time to do it. And since Susan's got $2 million more than she thought she had, we could take that money, part of it, just a little bit of it, if Susan will let go of it, and put them lights up. And I'm glad I come to the meeting tonight and heard that we had $2 million, because I had a mayor that said we don't have the money, but I'm sure he can come up with it now. I'd really like to make a motion that since we don't, the city actually puts up those lights.
Motion, Ronnie is submitting a motion, and I'll accept that. So your motion is for the city to try to install lighting at the intersections?
Right.
Okay,
That was mentioned.
I'll accept that motion. Is there a second? David Rowlett. Any discussion on the motion?
The current lighting that exists like on the completed section of the bypass or on 25, is that something that we did as a city or did the state do that?
The state does that.
So they already, so,
They've got to, they got to get another stoplight to put up there, because if you coming out of the bypass,
yeah,
they don't have any lights there for stopping or moving traffic. On 25.
are you talking about street lights?
Huh?
Oh, you're talking about street lights?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we know, so they are not, we know that they're not including that. Do we know if there's a reason why they did not include that? That's probably,
When I reached out to contacts at Transportation Cabinet, typically they are required to light a roundabout. Typically in more rural areas, they do not provide lighting at intersections. I checked out several just to kind of see, and those things you don't think about, but the ones that I looked at that are more out of town, that's accurate, that they typically don't design it for lighting. Lighting obviously can increase safety, but also there's always the counterpoint to that from the contacts with them, that in some cases people don't want lighting around their house, or that it's light pollution or light that shines in their home. So I kind of get both sides of it, but I see no reason that we can't look at doing this ourselves. I think it's going to take a little bit of a study, but let me come back on discussion to Teresa and then to Katie. Teresa.
Well, I'm very concerned about pedestrian traffic, especially out there, since we'll have those paths. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that this is a state project and was to be funded by the state. Do we have any idea on what the cost of this lighting would be, Ronnie?
No, I don't have a clue. All I know is that we went and looked at it last week, and especially when we found out that we only had 2 lights that was going up, and we've got a short time before the bypass is open, and I think I think we need to have the lights up before the bypass opens up.
My other question would be, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to hold the
You're fine.
floor.
Go right ahead.
Part of that is serviced by Bluegrass, so
I think all of it is.
so we would, it wouldn't be a BMU. We would be having to pay for these lights through Bluegrass on a monthly basis after they're up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to come to Katie, and then Cora Jane had a question.
I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. It sounds like you've already talked to folks at the state, and we have no further recourse with the state to like request this, or,
That's correct.
Okay.
The bypass was designed by traffic engineers to their standards. So if we want to do it, they'll work with us.
we would be allowed to.
Yeah, they would be, the understanding I had is that they would be more than happy to work with us with encroachment permits and whatever will be required to put lighting on a state right-of-way, if we want to do that. You're welcome. I want to come to Cora Jane, I saw.
I'm a person that likes to aggravate people at the state, so could we not petition them again and ask? And
I did. And it's not designed, and it's not in the funding.
I think we would need it. I will say,
This would be, my understanding, it would be the city would provide the funding for lighting if we want to have that.
lighting would be a lot cheaper than someone's life,
Agreed.
opinion.
Let me come to Steve and then back to Ronnie and then to David.
this is really a question, I guess, for Ronnie, since he made the motion and we're still on the motion. Would you be amicable to the idea of making the motion that we do the study to find out and bring back the results? Because I have two questions that are outlying to say, like, roll on. I think if we can install the lighting, I would be fully supportive of that. If the state would take on the maintenance the same way that they would with any other lighting on that project. Because right now, if they were to say, to your point, if they were to have designed 15 lights down through there, they would maintain those, they would keep those up, they would do all that stuff. And most importantly, they'd pay the monthly bill. And I don't even know, I don't actually know how that works. Like, do they actually pay a monthly lighting bill for every road that they maintain?
Don't know the answer to that.
Probably not.
I would imagine not.
This is something that if this motion passes, that we should probably include in the work session. Probably needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. Just one person's opinion. I think I said Steve, then Ronnie, and then back to David. Ronnie.
All right. The thing is, though, with the short notice that we picked up on not having lights appropriate for the whole thing, that it needs to be done quickly. And I don't care if you do a study and start the process of doing it. But I want to remind people that most of the houses on that bypass don't face it. They don't face it. We're at the back of the houses. I think there's one house
That's interesting.
that is across the road on the bypass. Okay.
Let me come back to David. David, you have the floor. And then
Well-
I'll come to Rose.
Living out off of
Excuse me.
25.
I got a call. Oh,
I witnessed, even though they put the signs up now for the last couple of weeks or something, there's a lot of traffic that disregards the stop signs. One in particular came through the other day, and we have the radar thing there at the end of our subdivision. He was clocked at 50 miles plus. Well, he didn't stop down there, and when he crossed the thing, he was airborne. Now, had that been tractor and trailers or other trucks coming through on a bypass, somebody's gonna die. So I agree that, in my opinion, the state kind of overlooked that. They may or may not do that. I understand the need there at the roundabout because they've already had some mobile lighting out there the last few days since it's been open. But I know the other intersections, even though some of the folks that live out there are well aware of the situation, it may not be them that die, but somebody coming through there, not knowing what's going on, they're going to take somebody out. So I would try to expedite that as quickly as we can. So,
Rose?
I would just say we have to be cautious about being realistic on the timing to get lights right now. The state itself is having trouble opening because they can't get lights. And that's with projects that they had planned out, I would say maybe even years, months in advance. So when you say we need to hurry, I mean, we can do our best if that's something that you guys decide, but I can't guarantee on supply chain issues and things like that. So I just want to put that out there. No, we could do our very best and try to figure it out. And also just that motion's very blankety. Like it doesn't, I mean, we have to bring you costs and probably put out an RFP for a price like this unless we can find a state contract person to do that. So I just want to throw some of that stuff in there.
I understand what you're saying, Rose, and I agree with you, but even if that's why we need to start early, because in case they can't get it, it's on order instead of waiting. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But,
You come to Cora Jane?
Well, that, Rose kind of touched on it, but Ronnie did, do we have time? To me, I'm kind of like Ronnie. I think we need to go ahead and start the process. If Bluegrass is going to do it, go ahead and talk with them and get the ball rolling, and then do say, you know, we're needing lights, we're gonna be doing this, and can you all go ahead and they can maybe see if they have them or can get them quicker, they can go ahead and be doing that, and they would. Bluegrass would.
Right.
I'm pretty confident.
We can do that. I just don't know about the timing and how long it will take. Just, you know, to set that expectation out there. We'll do our best, but
Exactly.
There is a motion on the floor to pursue the city putting streetlights at the intersections along the bypass where there's no lighting. Any further discussion on the motion? Further discussion on the motion? In that case, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. Motion carries, and Rose and I will carry that back and see if we can get, make contact with Bluegrass Energy. I think that's all their area, and that's who would have to do the installation. So we'll get to work on that. And that concludes the discussion on lighting for bypass. Next, we'll move to number 9 on your agenda, which is department head reports. And I'm happy to welcome back Public Works Director Roy Curtis as our feature presenter tonight. Roy, welcome back. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, well, thank you, and I'll try to make this not too long. We've been pretty busy here lately. Of course, we stay busy most of the time anyway. Okay, on Rose Street, we've got all the dirt work completed, and we got the curbs and curbs and gutters in, and we patched the road back and have all that ready to go. And it's been working pretty good, but we're still going to monitor it and make sure everything's working as expected. Then this spring, well, we still like the chain link fence in the backyard of the yard that we went through with the culvert and stuff, because we had to remove all that. So we'll put the chain link fence back up, and we're getting the grass growing and stuff in case it does come over a little bit, that it'll not wash out. And then this spring, when we do our streets and stuff, they'll come in and resurface Rose Street. And then we got Glades Street down there in that area too. That's got to be resurfaced in the spring, but they finished their water line work and everything, and they've got the base coat in. We went down the other night and swept the street up and stuff, so we'll let that settle in over the winter, and then that way if there's any issues, we can fix it in the spring before the blacktop. Okay, and then at the mountain bike park, we've did the prep work for the shelter that they're going to put up out there. Okay, it had to be ADA accessible, so where the parking lot is, we'd poured some and have it flat. It can only be like a 2% grade, and then where it goes down to the pad area and the pad, it can only be so much of a grade. So we had to haul in a lot of dirt there, and we packed it all in. We dug a footer and we poured the slab. So we've got everything ready to go. They've got the shelter ordered, and then when it comes in, they'll come out and install it. So it should be pretty nice out there, and it kind of sits up, and if you sit there, you can watch the whole place there and watch them ride, and if they want to have picnics there or whatever, you know, it'll be nice. Okay, and then we've been removing several dead trees lately. We had a few down on Ginger Drive. The guys went down and they cut all those out. I think there was 5 or maybe 6. And then we had one on Harrison Road that had fell, so we had to go take it out. We still like taking some stumps out and grinding them. And then we had one tree on Water Street, and then several on our walking trail down in front of BMU and out toward the bridge. But we've been trying to get all those trees out of there before they fall. Okay, and then we've made it back to the shooting range. So we've been hauling dirt this week. So we've got a a lot of dirt hauled this week so far, and they've been moving it around and stuff. And actually, we've got the front berm of the range kind of roughed in, and it looks like it's going to be 14, 15 feet tall. And what we're trying to do is just keep it to where a boom mower will reach it, so we can keep it mowed and stuff, and for maintenance. So we're going, as the weather allows, we're going to get back in there and start on them side berms up at the front, because they'll come back about 30 yards. So after we get the berms done, then the whole front area, the first 25 yards, it's all going to be concrete. Because we thought about doing it out of gravel, but when they do their maneuvers up there shooting and stuff, that gravel, they slip, and so it's a safety issue. That's why we want to do it out of concrete. And then they've got that new robot that moves around that they shoot at, so it just needs some good footing. But it should work well. And then what we're wanting to try to do at first is get that first 25 yards finished, so that way they can qualify with their pistols and stuff. And we can gravel a spot back out at the 100-yard mark and kind of just shoot off benches for right now until we get it all completed. But after we get all the dirt hauled in for that and stuff, then they'll want a slab back there with a shelter to put chute out from under and all that. But that'll be a work in progress. Okay, and then this week's fall cleanup. And we also have brush and leaf pickup routes that we've started this week too. The brush, it's been an ongoing thing, but the leaf pickup, that usually goes to about the end of December. So, 'cause a lot of trees like the Bradfords and stuff, they don't fall until early December. So we'll try to keep all that cleaned up. Our mechanics continue to do the maintenance and repairs on our city vehicles and equipment. And our maintenance and housekeeping crew keep our buildings clean and repaired. And I think the guys have been doing a good job keeping our vehicles and all of our tools going and everything. And then Jesse and Jacobs are doing a real good job keeping the buildings clean and everything fixed. Okay, we're preparing now to rebulb all of our Christmas decorations. So we try to get on that a little bit early so we don't get in a big rush. And they're going to be installed next month. It's usually about mid-November when we start putting them up. And if we got everything working and ready to go, it usually goes pretty quick. Because utilities, they'll help set and stuff, and we'll set some. And then we're going to be preparing our other equipment, our trucks and plows and all that for all the snow events that'll be coming in the months to come. It's already starting to get cool out, and it's something you gotta think about. Okay, and we will continue to do our normal work along with projects, events, and that may arise. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing or needs to be done? Or
I'll start with Teresa, and then we'll work around the room. Teresa.
Roy, since Jerry's not here, I have to ask the question he always asks you. We've got plenty of salt.
Oh, yes. We've got the whole salt shed full. It's all the way out to the front door.
All right. Other questions or comments for Roy?
I think
Ronnie?
Roy, your man done a professional job on Rose Street. I mean, it looked professional, and you need to brag on him and tell him the council brags on him, because that save us money. And the other thing I want to ask is, will Rose give me permission to tell you some stuff that I need done? I think that's a no. All right.
Other comments or questions for Roy? I'll add to Ronnie's point. They did a great job. You guys always do a great job, but had a lot of feedback on the corner going down McKinney Drive off of 21 down by exit 76. And I know almost the whole team was involved in that for several days, and that really opened the area up and made it look much nicer. And that is on state right-of-way through there, but we can clean state right away if need be, and that was something that really needed to be done for safety, to be able to see around the corner. I don't know if you want to mention anything about that project, because they did a fantastic job and it looks much better.
Yeah, I thought
very
they
much
did a great
appreciate
job.
all the guys that worked on that.
Yeah, it looked really nice when they got it done. And the only bad thing was after they got everything cut down, we saw all the trash laying there. So we had to go back on Monday and pick all that up. But yeah, it looks 100% better.
A lot of times with the trash pickup and the things that are done afterwards, people don't realize what's there until you get down in it, and it's time consuming. So my appreciation and gratitude to you and your team for doing such a good job.
Yeah,
Always.
I always like to brag on my guys, because it just amazes me what they get done, and they're good workers and care about their job and what they're doing, so they can get it done.
Corjay?
Bruce kind of stole the thunder, but I just wanted to say thank you for down by Cracker Barrel, that roadway. It looks great, and your men probably saved the city. No telling how much, because every time I've ever seen a curb or something that they've repaired, it looks great. So thank you all. And
welcome.
they done a great job down there, and I've had people tell me how good it looks, because they thought we were supposed to do it all along, but I tell them that's the state's, but we did. So thank you from a lot of the citizens.
You're welcome. Well, I'll let the guys know.
Okay, Roy, thank you. Appreciate your report.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other department heads like to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move forward to public comment. Would any members of the public like to address the council? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward and recognize Rose Beverly for the city administrator's report. Rose, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to see you council members tonight. So the first part of my report, I just want to highlight something that I think is pretty special and unique that I see happening in Berea. I was looking, of course, I give you guys the department head written reports, and the one thing that I noticed today that I thought was special that I recognize is happening here came from Priscilla's report, but it's also from Donna's as well. I didn't pull that stuff, but there's 10 events going on that the parks are putting on just in October. That's stuff that's free to the public to come and do. And I feel like building a sense of community is really important. And it's like that third place. You have your work, you have your home, but where do people go to come together? And I think that's really, really neat. And it takes a lot of work, because this is a lot of stuff after hours, on the weekends. They're not just going home. As soon as the pool season stops, the Parks Department is working a lot. And I really appreciate that, because people have something to do and they don't have to pay. Not everyone has a lot of income to go do fun things, but there's opportunities to do things in Berea. And with all the concerts and all the things, if I added in all the stuff that tourism was doing as well for the community and all the events they're putting on, we could be here for quite a while tonight talking about that. And so I just want to say thank you, because the work that they're doing doesn't stop when I go home at the end of the day. They're still doing stuff. So thank you to you guys for all the stuff you're doing for the community and building that sense of community for everyone that lives here. The second part is not as heartwarming as that. Housley Fork, we just want to report on to you. Obviously, we haven't been getting rain, and it's down 6 feet. Housley is. Cowbell is down 15 feet. Bee Lake is down 1.5 feet. But don't be freaked out yet, because this is kind of par for the course sometimes for this time of year. We will be watching it. Hopefully we'll get some rain, but if not, then we will be a little bit worried. But for right now, this is not too bad, but it's good for you guys to at least know. And we have approximately 890 million gallons available at full capacity. We currently have approximately 523 available, and that's roughly a 170-day supply. So we're not doing too bad, but we'll be watching it. I wanted to report on you about the airport water sewer line extension project, just give you an update. We're doing really good. Look at JT over there. He probably just wants to cry. All the easements that he kind of was got put in the middle of it with us. But of course, that took a lot of easements. We're going through a lot of properties. We have a lot to get done on that. He signed off, him and Brute and the mayor signed off last week, I believe, and we have a final plat recorded, which means we can put out an RFP. Of course, that project is us, Madison County, the City of Richmond, and EKU, and the Airport Board, of course. So that's a pretty pretty big collaboration of groups working together. So hopefully we'll be getting going on that now, and I'm managing at least the grant portion of that, and Susan's been helping it with that as well. And lastly, Susan's not here, but I just have to say thank you to her. I mean, going through that audit, they're here for a really long time, and she's been spending hours every day, plus her normal work. I see her sometimes still here when I leave. That audit takes a lot of her time and work and her team. So I just want to say thank you to her. And if you notice, she didn't I didn't ask her to put a report in for this month because she has been otherwise occupied. So but that's all I have, and I can take questions.
Questions for Rose? Questions for Rose? Thank you, Rose. Good
Thank you.
report. Appreciate that. Next, we'll move to mayor's comments. First thing I want to mention is our next meeting is scheduled for November 7th. That is Election Day, but I do want to call that to the council's attention to make sure you still want to meet on that day, or to see if you want to postpone. That's really a council decision. I think the last election day, time an election day fell on the council meeting, we decided to go ahead and have the council meeting, but that's up to you, and I just wanted to open that up for discussion if there's any comments about wanting to cancel or postpone. So what I'm hearing is carry on business as usual. Council meeting on election day. Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there in case you guys wanted to do differently. The other thing is, Rose mentioned all the good things that are happening throughout the park and with tourism, and I get both of the newsletters, and I would encourage people to get those because there's so many things that are going on. You really got to be plugged in to see. But this past Saturday, we had the last in the concert series that Donna and the tourist and convention staff put on. That was Nick Cassetta, who's Berea's own, and the really unique things about the concerts at the Chestnut Street Pavilion is that they involve local musicians. So it's giving local musicians an opportunity to come out, and it gives people that are visiting or people that live here something else to do, something to see and do, and music is really part of the art scene. So that's something that we want to promote and support. So Donna, for you and your staff, and I know it was a full team effort, including the part-time staff, and they were there. I went to the one on Saturday, and I think we had 3 part-time staff members there that didn't have to be there. They wanted to be. So my compliments to you for doing this now for the 2nd year, to make the most use of Chestnut Street Pavilion and to bring local musicians, allow them to perform at home, and to give the citizens a good entertainment venue that's at no cost to the public. So thank you very much for doing that. The only other thing that I had is we do have JT here with us this evening, and I know today we're not doing a work session today, but I know all of you have been looking at the ordinance that we're postponing. But I do think that where we have JT here, that if you had specific questions that maybe he could answer, that we could either maybe get some of those answered in advance, or if it's something we kind of need to look up and research a little bit, at least we'll have a heads up going into the work session that would be scheduled for the next. So would anybody like to ask JT a question or ask for a clarification about the ordinance now that you've read it and had it fresh on your mind? Anyone?
I do want to say that I wasn't here, but we had an attorney here one night that had some questions about it. She didn't send it to me. She sent it to the mayor, and I've looked at all that. I tweaked the ordinance a little bit, but most of the recommendations were either inapplicable or inappropriate for Berea, and so I've tried to do a regulation-based ordinance for the city's property, and the other events are ABC issues. This is only for city property, and so that's the way that it's set up.
Thank you, JT. Steve, and then I'll come to Ronnie.
My question, I guess, was for all of us. What were concerns? I thought that we had sort of worked through all the questions and concerns from the work session, and then we had all that, and then we got the new version. Are there any issues that, like, specific about? I didn't know anybody had any issues with it. I thought we were good to go on voting on it, but is there anything that we, like, are worried about? I guess that's what I was wondering from. I didn't know why we tabled it. We didn't table it. We postponed it.
Cordial.
Actually, I'll be honest, I was one of the people that called, and I have a lot of questions because this is all new, and I just need specific answers. But to sit here and go over them, I have a list, but it's at home. But because it is city property, the locations, and who can set up, who can sell, who can't. I found out a lot of information today myself. I can Google, you all, believe it or not. But anyway, just a lot of specifics. I think we need to be specific and not just broad and open, and I think we need to have some specifics to it. So anyway,
And
I
I'll,
just thought
and
I'd...
I'll just add to Cora Jane's, Steve, in response to your question. I'll add to Cora Jane's that I think this is something we don't have to be in a hurry about. It's important to get it right the first time, make sure everybody has their questions answered. So if there's
Well,
some
that's my
unanswered
thought.
questions
Thank
out there.
you.
And I'm kind of putting JT on the spot, but I thought while we have him here, if there's anything, it'd be good to get that out. Teresa? And then I'll come back to Ronnie. I haven't forgot you, I promise.
Something that is of concern to me is this, and I may be misreading it, but the sort of blanket approach to any city property. Can we make, if it would be the whole council's will, specific places, like I understand the definite need for if conventions are coming to town and if people are having private parties on city property, but to just like Spoonbread Festival, for instance, or those things, to have it in the parks where there are children, and I don't know, I have concerns about that. So is there a possibility of specifying locations?
Yes.
Okay.
I do want to come back to Ronnie. Ronnie, I promised I wouldn't forget you.
Well, I'm concerned. I thought something was going on at the end of the month, but I don't remember what it is. Oh, is it Halloween? Is it Halloween? Well, you need to get up and tell us a time and a day for everybody to hear. Right?
We're still talking about the alcohol stuff, though.
Well,
I will. I'll come back to that, Ronnie. It's a good point.
well, hey, maybe they want to drink while they're around. I mean,
So
Any other questions while JT's here?
I understand, Cora Jane, that you have specific questions. It feels hard since it's just going to be all of us talking at the work session. So I'm concerned that we're not going to have answers to the specific questions. Is it something that you could submit, like, to Mayor Fraley so that we could get clarity on some of those specific instances before our next work session, so we're not just spinning our wheels? You know what I mean?
Sort of, kind of, and I can try, Katie, but I won't promise. That way I'm not telling you I'll do something and I will. But mine was specifically, my concern was a little bit the city park, having alcohol sales at the city park. I have an issue with that. I don't care to tell you. And the pavilion in that area, and people come, it's away from our kids, I guess, that end. But anyway, somebody wants to have a convention or rent that, and they have that.
So
But-
your concern, so to clarify, your concerns aren't necessarily related to the legality of it or anything related to the ordinance specifically? It's more related to...
No, there are some other
Oh, there are,
things.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because this ABC, you know, all these rules and regulations of who can set up and sell and who can't, and if somebody wanted to come in and sit up at the park during the spoon bread and sell alcohol, can they? And I got a lot of that answered today, but I think JT can maybe help, and I'll try to get my questions to him, but anyway, yeah.
Just as a reminder too, that this particular ordinance is for management of that on an organized civic or community-sponsored event, which does bring me to a question, and I won't name names, but I did have a question that I was asked today, JT, that I didn't have the answer for. In the event that there is a private event on city property, let's say the toll building, a wedding reception might be a good example, where they want to bring someone in where sales would be allowed. Would that be something that could just be granted permission, or would that fall under this ordinance?
Well, any use of, any use or availability of alcohol on city property would be covered by this ordinance.
Thank you.
I think that was, yes.
Cora Jane?
I talked with another city about theirs, what they had, because they've been selling alcohol for 20 or 21, and size-wise, we're just kind of comparable. And they were telling me theirs, but you know, one concern I had was, could anybody come in? But if you have an alcohol permit, they were very much up on it. If you have license, can I use you, Katie? Okay, so if Katie wanted to go, thank you, like and set up at the park during something and sell alcohol, that's not permitted. She can only sell it at her location where the license are issued to.
Correct.
The only person that really can set up is a brewery or a distillery type. That's the only ones that can set up anywhere.
And they have a special license already.
That's already covered. So what are those ins and outs? And it just led to a lot of snowballing questions. Yeah.
But I do think that it's good to have the discussion.
And that's one of the points, that this does not supersede or is in any way have anything to do with the licensing by the ABC. This is control of city property, period.
I just think we have to have just some controls and some rules and regulations.
Right, which is the reason that we started this.
Right.
Or that the mayor asked me to do this.
Okay. Katie?
I'd just like to add too, I think it's really helpful that you made that distinction about who can sell, and I wonder if it would even be helpful to get some more clarifying information. Maybe our ABC representative for the city could come to that work session, because like you're saying, some of this stuff is so strictly regulated from the state. Some of these things that we're worried about wouldn't even be possible on city property. So I'm sure that Casey will be there,
Yes.
hopefully, because I feel like some of these questions or concerns that we have, or maybe that citizens have brought to us, are just things that aren't even legal from where the state is concerned. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. While we have the expert here, any other questions for him specifically? But I did want to open that up a little bit. We'll schedule the work session. JT, thank you for being willing to take some questions and give us a little background while you're here. Much appreciated. That is all that I have, and tonight we will start with Steve Cottle for council comments.
Good meeting, no comment.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll move to Cora Jane Wilson. Cora Jane?
Thanks, everybody, for being here, and appreciate it. Susan, great report on you. Thank you for all your all's hard work. And I know it's hard work, been there and done that. It's not fun. I need this and I need that, and it's filed in a box, and you got to go dig it out. But, appreciate everybody that came, and everybody that spoke, and thank you all.
Thank you, Cora Jane. Ronnie, Terrell, Ronnie.
Halloween is canceled.
I will, without objection, I will recognize our Parks and Recreation Director because I meant to do it earlier. Priscilla, if you'll tell us about Halloween and the dates and time, the date and time.
Trick or treat for Berea and the county is Tuesday the 31st from 6 to 8. And Halloween at the park, our 22nd annual, is also the same time and date. The 31st from 6 to 8. We'll have trick or treating, free fire truck rides, photo booth, inflatables. So, and we also have a few spaces left. If any local business would like to participate, it's free. Just give the park office a call. But yes, any other questions about Halloween? I'm sorry, Ronnie, I should have.
Thank you, Scylla, for what you do.
Thank you, Priscilla. Ronnie, thank you for the reminder. I forgot about that. Next we'll come to this side of the room and with David Rowlett. David, you have the floor, sir.
Well, I'm excited to hear that the bypass is getting closer and closer. I think the lighting is much needed for safety reasons, and I do see people out walking, even though the multi-use path is not officially open, but you see people out there riding bikes and doing things, and so I just think for safety, we don't have much choice to put some lighting out there. The other thing is, I want to thank Roy for Public Works and all the work they're doing down in the Dixie Park area. That's one of our older subdivisions, has needed attention for some time. And when I was campaigning, going door to door and stuff a year ago, that was one of the things I heard most about was drainage and problems down in that area. And so I'm excited to hear that that's going to be nice. And when it's paved in the spring, it'll be super nice. So, and I'm sure some of the other streets will find reason to have attention in that area. But like I said, it's one of our older subdivisions and right here in the heart of town. So appreciate your help. And of course, the work that Susan and the folks have done is worthy of lots of compliments because it's long, long days. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next we'll move to Katie Starksman. Katie, you have the floor.
Thanks. Rose, thank you for sending these monthly reports. It's so helpful, and I appreciate hearing from what the department heads are working on. So thank you. And Susan, I'm glad you came back in because you left and you were getting compliments that you didn't hear. So now we can all give you compliments in person, and to all of your staff. This is, Teresa and I were saying, we don't quite know what questions to ask yet because this is a large document, but it's exciting to have such a good initial report, and I'm excited to dive into this more. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie. And for the last word, Teresa Sanders. Teresa, you have the floor.
I don't know if I have a good last word, but with Katie, I'm glad to have all these reports, and we got it right before council tonight from Rose, the monthly reports from the department heads that she sends out. As she pointed out, Priscilla is busy, 10 things. Donna is swamped. I don't know, 24 things. I don't remember. But Roy, and thank you for your report tonight and everything that your staff does. They're so on top of everything. And Susan, you have been getting bragged on. We'll continue to do that. Bless your heart, you need to go home and take a nap. Kevin is not here tonight, but I was tickled to see that pyritic shale report had come in, and we're not going to be out millions of dollars. That was a good thing, and I guess we'll just pray for rain. Y'all have a good week.
Thank you, Teresa. That concludes council comments. Is there a motion to adjourn by David Rowlett and second by Steve Cottle? All in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say